Good evening, hello, and welcome. My name is Amanda Benson, and I am the Caring for Our Watersheds Manitoba Program Coordinator. And I'm coming to you live tonight from the Harry J. Enns Wetland Discovery Center at Okamic Marsh. So this is Caring for Our Watersheds Manitoba 2021 Finals, and I'm so excited to share with you everybody's presentations and then how everybody did. I know everyone else is excited too, but before we reveal that information, first of all, of course, we need to see everybody's presentations. So we are very lucky to be able to run this contest here in Manitoba. And we're just gonna really quickly hear from somebody from our sponsor, and then we'll hear from another sponsor a little bit, or another one of the members from our sponsor later, but we're just gonna do a really quick one right now.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Caring for Our Watersheds final competition. My name is Chloe Sprecher, and I am the Education Program Coordinator at Nutrien. I'm responsible for leading program development and supporting our partner organizations in executing Caring for Our Watersheds in their respective regions. You may not know this, but Nutrien is the program founder and the primary sponsor of Caring for Our Watersheds, and we couldn't be prouder to support this amazing program and your environmental solutions.
So the top 10 actually have already presented to the judges. So what we're going to be showing you today is a playback of what happened on Wednesday. Now, we wanted to do it ahead of time because with everything being virtual, we wanted to make sure that everything went off without a hitch. So I'm excited to show you what these students did. Every presentation was amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you. So with that, let's get started. So first off, we've got Kylie. All right, so here we go.
Hi, my name is Kylie Peterson. I'm a grade 11 student enrolled in Warren Collegiate Institution, and my project proposal today is Nurturing Nature in a Toxic World. So the main concern that I'll be focusing on is the toxic hand soaps that are currently being used within my school. They are actually a form of antibacterial, which is one of the most toxic hand soaps known to us and to our aquatic life, as it includes two of the most dangerous chemicals known, and that is triclosan, which is a chlorinated organic compound with antibacterial and antifungal properties. And this chemical is very highly toxic to algae, and it's actually killing off our healthy algae, which is essential to the aquatic food web and food chain, as it is known to be a source of food, shelter, and even to some species, a source of oxygen. The next dangerous chemical is sodium lauryl sulfate, also known as SLS, and this is what helps make soap lather, but it is a high concern for irritation of our skin, eyes, lungs, and a moderate concern for organ system toxicity. And on that note, this is a list of 8 chemicals that you do need to be aware of in your soap. And if you do have any of these chemicals, I suggest you stop using them as they are very toxic to yourself as well as to our waters. And one I'd like to touch base with is sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a concentration of SLS, making it less expensive, but it is just as toxic. And because of this, they are adding more into our waters, hurting our waters and aquatic life even more. A simple solution that I had is to take out these toxic hand soaps and bring in an eco-friendly brand instead. And my brand of choice is Mrs. Meyer's Clean Day Hand Soap. So I'll be starting in my high school, Warren Collegiate Institution in Warren, Manitoba, in the hopes that other schools will eventually follow suit. And in doing this, I'll be posting on the school page and anywhere I can to let people know that we are making this change and that we are helping out our environment slowly. And bringing the solution to life, I have talked to the school and the division and got acceptance from both. And I will be changing out the dispensers and everything as soon as I can. And when we put in these dispensers, I will be checking to see how much they hold. And at the end of the day, how much we used. And I also do that over a week to see the long-term benefits of how much we are actually helping out our eco-friendly life. So our soap expense per year Currently, with Brighton Unscented Foam Hand Wash, we are spending more. If we change to Mrs. Myers, which is the gold in the pie chart, we are actually saving money, and we can save about $1,200 a year if we base it off 20 school calendar days a month and 10 calendar months a year. And at the end of the year, I would hopefully like to take the budget financials, so then we can go beyond the division and maybe into others into the city to really get this above and beyond. So we can get this out into other schools and other places as well. This is, again, the soap that is currently being used. It is Brighton Professional Unscented Foam Hand Wash. It uses 5 of the 8 harmful chemicals that I've mentioned before, and it is also all plastic, so it is being thrown out on a daily basis, which is hurting our environment double time. The replacement, however, in Mrs. Myers Clean Day Hand Soap is all recyclable and almost all plant-based, whether it's coming from roots, flowers, herbs, anything. Though the ingredients do seem scary, they're all scientific names for those plants. And when we use the soap, we do not have any of those toxins that we have worried about before. So we're really helping out our aquatic life in that way. This also goes along the sustainable development, following along 4 main goals. And with these goals, we are helping out not just ourselves, but we're helping other people globally, bringing the soap in just by washing our hands, which is an everyday action. So in the end, when using these eco-friendly brand products, we are taking out chemicals that are killing our watersheds and aquatic species and bringing them back to life. And I'm really happy doing this project because our school originally wanted to do this anyways. So I'm really having that push. And because of this, I also made the switch at home because we did not realize how toxic this really is to us and how much it really is hurting our environment. And I really want to let people know that we can make this change and that you can help yourself just by washing your hands. And that's everything.
All right, so now we're gonna have, if we wanna start the clock again so that we kind of know how we're doing for timing for judging questions. And judges, you can unmute and ask your questions.
Hey, can I kick things off, Kylie? My name's Kent. I have 2 questions for you, as long as Amanda lets me. Question number 1, who did you talk to at the school? Because
sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
I talked to my principals, and I've also talked to the janitor to make sure that he's okay with making these switches and bringing in these dispensers and everything like that. So I did talk to everybody that I could just to get even more information from the school itself.
Awesome, because the principals think they run the school, but really it's the janitors.
Yeah.
And question number 2, have you done a test trial with other students? I know you're using this at home, but are students going to use Mrs. Myers soap? Is it doing the same job cleaning as the other soaps?
Yes, I've actually reading on it. There's been many studies from like 40 researchers, 13 universities. Many people have done studies, and cleaning your hands with this soap is the exact same as using antibacterial. The antibacterial is just a label to catch you and bringing all these chemicals into your house.
Thank you, Kylie.
I have a question. So what made you so did you consider any other brands of soaps? Was there any specific thing that led you to Mrs. Myers specifically?
The brand I originally had was Ecos, but we were talking about how it'd be nice to have more of a Canadian brand. But Mrs. Myers is not Canadian based, as they're made in the States. However, they do have a Canadian website, as Ecos did not have a Canadian website. And Mrs. Myers all around seems to be a lot better brand, as they don't just have hand soaps, they have body washes, candles, bathroom cleaning supplies. So you can really change your whole house to Mrs. Myers if you really wanted to.
And I have another quick question, if that's all right, unless any other judges need to jump in. I was just wondering if you could describe to me how these toxins are entering the watershed and the environment. How is it going from tap into the watershed?
We are washing our hands more and more every day because of COVID right now. And we also have hand sanitizer on our hands. So we're adding even more chemicals down our drain. So when you're washing your hands in the sink, it's going down all those pipes into the waters, and water spreads rapidly into so many different pipes and everything. And it's really getting put all into one lake and everything. So all the toxins that are around us and going, because there's lots of places around us that are going into our watershed itself. We share with a lot of other people. All the toxins from there are also going into our watershed around us. So just by washing your hands is really putting so much toxins into your water that I didn't realize before doing this project.
Yeah, there's a lot of water consumption out there for sure. Thank you.
I just have a quick question, and then I'll start with a couple of quick comments. I thought it was great to have your experiment designed to see what the usage was and to actually look at the cost savings. Like that was, I think you really went into great depth there, and that's awesome. So my question was, did you try contacting Mrs. Meyer, see if they'd be willing to work with you a little bit? It seems like a really good project. They might be cooperative. I'm just wondering if you talked to them at all.
Yes, I did talk to them. They emailed me back and said, because I wanted to buy in bulk. So I asked if they would be able to do that, but they said that they couldn't, to try other distributors such as Costco. But we looked at Amazon, and you can actually buy in bulk there. And Amazon seems to be the best one. However, you're not just limited to Amazon. They have it at many other places as well, if you do end up finding a cheaper price somewhere else.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I just had a really, really quick question about your budget numbers. You may have mentioned this and I may have just missed it, but I wasn't sure if your numbers were for the entire division switching over or just the cost savings for your own school.
It seems to be the savings for the division because they buy the soap. And if they also switch to the other schools in the division as well, they can save that amount of money even more if they switch to the other schools.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much.
Hey, just a comment, Kylie, you should get that money put into the science budget. If you're saving them $1,200 a year, that should go to your teacher's science budget for sure.
Yeah.
We like you.
Retired science teacher.
So I was actually so excited to get started that I forgot to introduce the judges. So you just saw all the judges on that first round there. So now we are, just wait, for some reason I am not pinned. There we go. What's going on? Can everybody see me now? There we go. All right. So I'm going to quickly introduce the judges before we go on to our second presentation. So from Nutrien, who is our sponsor, we've got Garrett Watson. So Garrett manages the precision agriculture field team in North America for Nutrien Ag Solutions. He's been helping farmers grow more and waste less with technology for the last 10 years. In Canada, the US, and Australia. So Garrett is from Manitoba as well, went to the University of Manitoba, and we are very happy to have him. Our next judge is Sandy Welberian. She's the teacher librarian at HGI in Winnipeg. And she's got a Bachelor of Science in Earth Sciences, which is, of course, relevant to what we're doing today. She also got that from the University of Manitoba. And she has taught lots of different grades and lots of different subjects, but she really enjoys the sustainability, ecology, geography type courses. So fits perfectly with what we're doing here. All right, we've got Kent here. Kent is the program coordinator. Kent Lorne is the program coordinator of the Manitoba River Watch program, and he's the regional manager for Nutrients for Life, which is another nutrient program actually. And Kent is a retired teacher, but somehow he is always still involved with all of these sorts of things. He just can't let it go because he just likes it so much. And I totally understand where he's coming from, because this is so much fun watching you all come up with these ideas and present them. It's so great. And so he works with partners across Manitoba, across Canada. He's a proud supporter of all of these types of programs, like Caring for Our Watersheds, that allow students these types of opportunities. And so we were so happy to have him as well. And last, we've got Lindsay Harrington. She's a project engineer at the City of Winnipeg Water and Waste Department. And she has a lot of different roles at the City of Winnipeg, but she's also a member of her Workplace Green Team, Winnipeg Sustainable Procurement Working Group, and she has a lot of background in ecology, environmental science, that sort of thing. So thank you so much to all of our judges. And with that, we will be heading back into our presentations. So next up, we've got Chaz.
Hello, my name is Chaz Ducharme, and this is my idea for caring for our watersheds. I want to build custom mechanical keyboards for staff and teachers at schools to help save the environment. There are two parts to this presentation. Part one, I'll explain what custom built keyboards are and the impact they'll have on the environment. Part two, I'll show you the cost, timeline, and what I'm hoping to accomplish with this. To get right to the meat of it, according to the Brussels-based Bureau of International Recycling, Canada generated over 600,000 tons of e-scrap, electronic equipment in 2017. 20 to 50 million metric tons of e-waste are disposed worldwide every year. The difference between a custom-built keyboard and a plastic membrane keyboard. A custom-built keyboard is made up of multiple parts that can be separated and recycled into other keyboards or just thrown into the blue bin. Under most circumstances and with proper care, these can last a whole decade compared to a plastic membrane keyboard, which only lasts about 2 years in most environments. Custom mechanical keyboards can have their typing experience and whole aesthetic customized by the user, and parts are easily available online from small, environmentally friendly businesses compared to most plastic membrane keyboards, with all the same experience and generic design. To compare the two types of keyboards is night and day in every aspect and feeling. On the top left, you can see that a custom-built keyboard made by a tech YouTuber, and slightly below that is a plastic membrane keyboard you can pick up almost anywhere for $20. 3 things that benefit from using custom-built keyboards. The environmental benefits from having less plastic inside of its watersheds and in landfills. The school benefits by not having to waste money on short-lasting products. For example, my school had to replace 16 keyboards last year, and that will be brought down for each keyboard I build. Custom-built keyboards will last longer than other products, and the end user is happy and enjoying work just that little bit more. A common consensus in the custom keyboard community is that people are happier with their new keyboard and work better than when they had the cheap, clunky membrane keyboard. Section 2, project plan. Contrary to what most people hope, custom-built keyboards cost money. I made a table that shows what I could make someone in 5 minutes depending on the budget they have. The prices can go much cheaper and stay the same quality depending on who I buy from. So to make it fair, I only use 3 sites. This is an investment that I'll be asking the school. I bought parts to make a test build, and that will confirm if this is a doable idea that I can present to the school or maybe even school board later on. My plan is to start out with the grant money and make at least 2 keyboards for 2 teachers. While the parts are coming, I'd consult with my school principal and see if I can receive funding directly from the school to support making keyboards for the staff. I also have a meeting in the works with the school board to discuss this project. This is the project timeline. Funding. Get as much funding as possible during the time of mid-April to early May. People, get a rough idea of who would like to have a custom keyboard and start working up a budget to show the school board. Ordering the parts and build them to the satisfaction of the staff. I also would like to get a yes or no from the school board by this time. End plan. Give the keyboard to the staff and repeat the process with more funding and with the support of the school/school board, hopefully. How my project fits into sustainable development goals. My project addresses and can fit into any of the goals you see on the screen. But I think my project best fits into SCG 9 because I'll be building keyboards to refine the school infrastructure and reduce the impact on the environment. The end goal for this project is to make an impact on the local watershed and maybe even the surrounding environment if it gets that big. And to start my project, I estimate I'll need around $500 to $600, but any extra helps. This is the key board to a sustainable future. Thank you for listening, and I welcome any questions.
All right, I'll maybe kick off. So great job, Chaz. That presentation was awesome. I liked how you had the stages of your project from funding through to going through it. Like you're thinking steps ahead there. So my question for you is, do you know what success would look like with your two teacher testers? Like, have you thought about, okay, how do we measure if it's a good fit or not?
I'd probably have like multiple teachers come and test out the keyboards that I build for them, and then see how they like the keyboards to gauge if how they would respond to getting one.
Okay.
How they would respond to have that being like innovated into the school.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Well done, Chaz. Thank you so much for that. That's an awesome solution to a problem that I don't think we really give much attention to in the big scope of environmental awareness. So thank you so much. I have two questions. The first one, you mentioned that you've talked to the principal, which is awesome. Have you talked to your technology department in your division?
I have not yet, but I've talked to my teacher to see if I can arrange a meeting with them, but I haven't really gotten an answer so far.
Thanks, Chaz. And question number two, you went over the slide with some of the costs. Could you just fill me in on what the cost of a plastic keyboard is versus the cost of your custom keyboard? What are you going to save per keyboard is kind of where I'm going with this.
So the price difference is quite big, but so the price of a normal plastic membrane keyboard is around $20 to $50. And the price that I'd be building my keyboards for is around $150 to $200. But the feel and how long they last is like drastically different.
Right. So I might go through 3 or 4 keyboards over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So no, thank you so much, Chaz. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Do Sandy or Lindsay have any questions for Chaz?
Kent stole my question, so no. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that cost again too, but I really appreciate the life cycle kind of cost analysis you had there, where this is 5 times the lifespan, but it's more expensive, but it's 5 times the lifespan, which is huge, and that's amazing. It's great thinking. I like it.
Chaz, I work in our library, and as such, I'm the default technology person in our school. And I must say, we go through lots of keyboards, especially the keys always pop off. Your custom built keyboards, what makes them sturdier? What makes them a little more resistant to, say, students plucking off the keys? Or I'm just curious about that a little.
Okay, so with membrane keyboards, you can't replace the keycaps that you're saying are getting plucked off, but with mine, like you can take off the keycaps and you can replace them with different ones, or you can just put another one on. It may mess with the aesthetic or something, but it'll definitely help with that. And also the body can either be made out of either like metal or aluminum, or it can also be made out of plastic. like really hard plastic, but I'd rather have them made out of aluminum if I get the chance.
So Chaz, sorry, one more question just pops into mind. I'm a retired teacher and teachers are cheap. I totally get that. If you're going to sell me a $150 keyboard versus a $20 keyboard, I'm probably going for the $20 keyboard because that's coming right out of my budget. How are you going to sell me that this is what I need to do in the long term? Because it's affecting my bottom line, what I can spend on other parts in my classroom if I'm buying a more expensive keyboard.
I'd probably, so I already have, I think around 2 or 3 teachers agreeing to have me build them a keyboard. And I'd probably show them the satisfaction of those teachers or the people that I build keyboards for. And I'd definitely try my best to sell them why they should choose my keyboards versus a $20 keyboard.
Thanks, Chaz.
All right. Any other questions, judges? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chaz. Okay, so next we've got Jade.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jade Bugia, and my project is called Picture a Cleaner Watershed. Who I am and what my idea is. My name is Jade Bugia. I'm 14 years old. I'm a grade 8 student at Valley Gardens Middle School, and my project idea is to create a picture book on how to reduce, reuse, and recycle single-use plastics properly so they don't end up in our watershed. What are some of the issues the Lake Winnipeg watershed is facing? Well, some of the issues that the Lake Winnipeg watershed is facing are algae or eutrophication, zebra mussels, plastics, and wetland loss. The issue I've chosen to focus on is the plastic problem. What is the plastic problem? Well, plastics are littering our watershed. Plastics are often put into garbage dumps and turned into microplastics as they break down. They then enter our waterways through water runoff. There are 300,000 tons of plastic floating in oceans worldwide. This problem goes beyond our watershed. The Red and Assiniboine River are contributing 400 million microplastics to Lake Winnipeg yearly. Who the plastic problem affects? Many tourists like to visit the lakes in the Lake Winnipeg watershed. Many people also enjoy doing recreational activities around the lakes. Many birds and animals feed off of the fish who live in Lake Winnipeg. The plastic found in the lake will cause damage as it makes its way through the food chain. A huge part of Manitoba's $30 million annual fishing revenue is made by commercial fisheries in Lake Winnipeg. What is my idea? I propose to create and distribute a book to all of the libraries in the River East Transcona School Division. The book will contain many ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle plastics properly. In order to make sure that I have the correct information, I will contact local organizations to make sure I give the right message on recycling. I will contact schools to see if I am able to read the book in classes. If I am unable to read the book, I will send a letter to the teachers about who I am, what this book is about, and why it's important to read it to their classes. If I am able to read the book, I will also bring along coloring pages that I have made. Where my story will go and who will support my idea. I have the support of my school's teacher librarian who will help me with the publishing of my book. I have the support of all the librarians in our school division who are all willing to put this book in their libraries. I will reach out to second grade classes in my division for a read aloud because this subject fits in the curriculum. How this project will help the Lake Winnipeg watershed. My project will help the Lake Winnipeg watershed by bringing awareness towards the plastic problem by educating kids about it. Educating younger kids is good for the future of the watershed. It will help them be creative by giving them ideas that already exist, which they can take their own spin on. This book will contain different ideas on how to reduce, reuse, and recycle plastics. Funding. I'm looking for $1,000 to put towards publishing my book and printing copies of it to go into school libraries. This will pay for the first print. I will also raise money by selling books to afford to be able to print more. Conclusion. Educating the younger generation is the first step to better the future of the watershed. Picture books are a great way to give information to people of all ages. Plastic use is something we can all work on and can make a big difference. I believe my project can create a lasting change in the health of the Lake Winnipeg watershed. I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be creative with my project and with this idea and being able to present to you here today. Thank you for letting me experiment with new ideas and challenging my thinking. I would like to thank you for having me and my project here.
All right, so if any of the judges have questions, you're good to get started now.
Do you mind if I start?
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'll go ahead because I am a teacher librarian. So, and you mentioned teacher librarians quite a bit in your presentation, which makes me very happy. So while you were presenting, I had the question, how will you publish your book? And you did answer that. You said you would get the support of your teacher librarian, but I'm going to take that a little bit further. Do you plan to do the writing and the illustrating for the book yourself?
Yes, I do.
Have you already started on the writing and the illustrations, or are you still in the gathering information stage?
So far, I've been gathering information and I have been doing a few draft pages, but I'm still looking for things.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were going to contact some local, I guess, authorities or people to reach out to confirm the methods and what's recyclable, what's not. Would you be able to comment on who you were planning to contact?
Not at the moment, but I would like to go look for more.
Okay. So like possibly Manitoba, possibly like water and waste department and
Yeah.
the material stewardship possibly.
Mhm.
Morning, Jade. I'm Kent. I have a couple of questions for you. One of them is a technical question. You mentioned that there's 400 million, and I can't remember if you said pounds or pieces of microplastics coming to Lake Winnipeg from the Red and the Assiniboine. Can you tell me how have they figured that out? And where did you get that information from?
I got it from the source on my slide.
Okay.
I think it was CBC.
Awesome. And question number 2, I think you answered, but I missed it. What grade level are you targeting for your book with the illustrations?
2nd grade.
Yes, I thought I got it. And last part is just a comment. One of my former students, he loved drawing, illustrating. He now is writing books with illustrations. And if you want a mentor and he does it by hand, but he also does it on his Mac. And if you would like a mentor, I can try and hook you up.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, Jade. I just had a couple quick questions. So I really liked your idea. And I was just wondering, did you look into maybe like the cost of getting the books made, or if there's maybe some local publishers that could help with that, or?
At the moment, we're still looking for prices, but we are looking.
Okay. Kate, and then a little bit more on that, and I don't know if you've got here yet, but maybe if there's some ways that you could use recycled papers or those sorts of things? Have you thought about preferences or?
I believe that would be a good idea to use recycled papers for it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Jade, just came to mind, you mentioned that in your book you were going to talk about various ways to reduce and reuse. What are some of your ideas? What are the big messages that you want to get out to grade 2 students?
I want to make sure that they know that they're able to help with this problem, and they can do a lot to help with this, even if they can't do that much.
Thanks, Jade.
All right, do we have any other questions? No, that's it. All right, thank you, Jade. Okay, we're just flying through here. Next, we've got Megan, Jasper, and Angela.
Okay. All right. So my name's Angela.
My name's Megan.
And I'm Jasper. And today we'll be presenting our Caring for the Watersheds presentation, saying goodbye to sorry de-icers. So have you ever slipped on ice and fell before?
Oh, one time I broke my ankle slipping on ice. Well, there's a solution to that that's eco-friendly.
We are saying goodbye to sorry de-icers. Here's Hemperd, an eco-friendly solution to excessive salt usage.
Hemperd comes from the stalk of the hemp plant and is composed mainly of cellulose. This makes it biodegradable, and as a byproduct of the processing of the hemp plant, it can be sourced right here in Manitoba. Hemperd is very absorbent and can absorb water from melted ice to help salt to work more efficiently as a de-icer, meaning less salt can be used overall. We predict that Hemperd will also provide traction on icy surfaces because wood chips have been shown to have these benefits in another Canadian town, which you may want to ask about later. Although this will have to be tested and observed with our pilot project that we are proposing for next winter season at our school.
Before we go into our plan though, let's talk about the local watershed and why excessive salt use is a really big problem. At nearly 1 million square kilometers, the Lake Winnipeg watershed is the second largest watershed in Canada. Many people throughout Manitoba and the surrounding area rely on the health of the watershed. And although 26,000 tons of salt are being dispensed on Winnipeg roads every year, this health is in great danger. Although our school's de-icer pictured on the left claims to be eco-friendly, just as many other road salts do, the accumulation of any salt can be detrimental to the watershed and the environment as a whole for multiple reasons. Firstly, salt increases the salinity of an area when excess salt seeps into the ground and waterways. This makes it really difficult for plants to absorb water through their roots, and this results in dieback, leaf burn, and even plant death. Additionally, freshwater aquatic species such as fish, turtles, and frogs can die with increasing salt levels in freshwater ecosystems due to dehydration. Lastly, chlorides, which are common in de-icers, contribute to the corrosion of metals, including cars, bridges, and buildings. This leads to the destruction of property and a need to spend more to fix or even replace them each year. With reference to the UN Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is clean water and sanitation, we hope to also reduce pollution by minimizing the release of hazardous chemicals and materials, including road salts and chlorides. In addition to this, we'll protect water-related ecosystems, including forests, wetlands, rivers, and lakes.
Inspired by the need for a solution, we decided to experiment on the effectiveness of Hemperd as an aid to salt-based de-icers because we wanted to find something that was readily available as a biodegradable byproduct of the processing of something found in Manitoba. We were drawn to hemp for its previously discussed properties and were led to perform an experiment on its effectiveness as an aid to salt de-icers. We tested a mixture of Hemperd and our school's de-icing salt in comparison to the salt on its own and a control sample with no de-icer, and our results led to the conclusion that Hemperd actually increases the amount of ice that an amount of salt can melt.
After speaking with Emerson Hemp Distribution, we found that Hemperd costs 25 cents per pound and is sold in 500-pound bags. In our budget, though, we rounded this to 30 cents per pound to account for transportation costs and taxes. After speaking with the maintenance head of our school, we learned that our school uses 120 kilograms of salt per year, which costs the school approximately $87 every year. We predicted with our ratio of 1 part salt to 2 parts Hemperd, we would only need a third of this salt, making our total salt total only $29 a year, reducing it from the current 6 bags down to 2. Although according to the department head of our school division, the school already has plenty of salt, meaning there is no need in the budget for a few years, making this more economically friendly at this moment. However, we have included it in our budget here as we will need to purchase more salt in the future. Instead of spending additional money on the de-icer for now, we can focus on purchasing our proposed Hemperd and prolong the life of salt. This will be more cost-effective while supporting the health of our watershed.
We decided to discuss this idea with our principal, and we have received support to start a pilot project next winter. This pilot will take place on our school grounds, on our parking lot, and surrounding walkways.
In this pilot, we plan on using a mixture of hemp and salt that will be effective with ice meltage, traction, and runoff absorption. We want to test hemp herd for its effectiveness, but also for the difficulty of application and cleanup by consulting our custodian throughout the project.
If we see that usage in these areas indicate positive results, we look forward to implement the use of hemp herd as an aid to de-icer on a greater scale within our school as a permanent solution, our school division, and also within our community. We hope to see more positive results and look forward to contributing to the care of our watershed in a unique way. We believe hemp can help. Thank you for your undivided attention and time this morning. We will now be open to answering any questions you have about our proposal, but before that, here are our resources here. And then our works cited.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Awesome. So my first question is kind of a sciencey question. How are you going to, what are your metrics you're going to use to measure the effectiveness of this product? Are you going to measure the number of falls? Do you have prior data to falls? How much moisture or ice is going to be removed? How are you going to measure this, the effectiveness?
Right, that's a really good question. I think it is hard to determine how effective the hemp will be with numbers and doing that. So I think it is important to just take observations throughout and use that as our data. And because the winter season, the amount of ice and snow varies year to year, I think it is definitely really hard to know exactly how much we need to use, exactly how we're going to measure how effective it is. And so, yeah, throughout, I think it's just important that we take a lot of observations.
And we also talked about how, since we're just implementing it on a small scale within our school community, it'll be easy because we'll be able to monitor it ourselves. So when we first apply it, we'll be able to test in the parking lot and see if when someone drives by, if it's like the right amount and everything, as well as on the sidewalk, just making sure that no one's going to slip and fall. So that's why the controlled area of our school is better to start with.
Awesome, thanks. I'll let the other guys go and then I'll come back to another question if they haven't asked it already.
Great.
I can go next. Awesome job. Like you're pushing me for questions because it was so good. I have to make my questions a little bit harder. So yeah, just wanted to start with that. One of the things that came to mind as I was watching your presentation was, and Matilda's got questions too. But do you have a plan to maybe measure and observe the runoff from the hemp? I think it's a great solution to that non-point source pollution, but seeing whether it's persisting in the environment, what conditions it degrades in, how long it persists. Have you thought about those things?
You want to answer that?
So we did a little research on like wood chips use in like Rosemere, Quebec, because they use that for traction there. And apparently every year, like when they did apply it on their roads, it did work really well to for traction. And since hemp has like similar properties and is like also biodegradable, similar to wood chips, we think it would be probably just absorbed back into the environment as it decomposes. And in comparison to using things like beet juice, it doesn't have as many like nutrients, and so it wouldn't contribute as much to like eutrophication in like local watersheds. So in the spring, when it does go back into the environment, whether it's like the soils or into the creeks or local watersheds, we believe that it would have a better impact overall.
Right, and I think as well, our teacher is very keen on measuring the levels of different things within the water from our local creek. And so I think we are also able to go to him and have his help to measure the salinity of the different areas, just to see if that is reduced by using less salt in the area, and also measuring any other things as well to make sure that the hemp is not negatively affecting the environment.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
I have a question. Do you foresee it being something that has to be, because often with salt we end up just leaving it out there. Do you foresee there being some extensive cleanup involved? Is there any, what, can you comment on that?
Yeah, so we, I think that was part of what I said in my presentation, is that's something that we're still kind of unsure about, but we will be talking with our custodian kind of just to see the cleanup and the way it is absorbed and the way that it absorbs the ice and everything, just to make sure that like it's not much harder on him, as well as to see the cleanup if we need to go out and take a broom and just make sure that it's cleaned up that way, but we'll see.
Can I say something? So we also know that the school, like our school uses gravel as traction for now. And I'm pretty sure like at the end of each season, like they do sweep it up just because it would collect on the road. So if we were to like stop using gravel and like implement the use of herd, they'd probably find a way to like, if it does remain on the roads, like clean it up at the end of every winter season.
Yeah, that makes sense if you're already cleaning anyway.
A
different product, right?
I think it'll just be interesting to see what he's thinking, like the difference between cleaning up the granite and cleaning up the hemper.
Just
so we're
it's
hoping,
like
we're hoping since it's an organic material that it won't be that bad.
I just had one quick little question. You keep referring or referencing the wood chips that are used in Rossmere, I think you said it was. Did you ever explore using wood chips, or did you just want something that was more local and sourced locally?
We actually did not explore using wood chips too deeply because we did find that hemp herd was actually more absorbent than wood chips from the research that we did. So we thought that it would be a better solution to try as well because it's available in Manitoba. We did do some other experimenting on different de-icers though, including potato starch, which you may have seen in the picture of the 4 pans as well. So we did find with potato starch though that it wasn't as effective of a de-icer than salt was. And we thought that as it is really important to de-ice the sidewalks so that people aren't slipping and falling, it is important that we have a de-icer that works effectively. And so even though we still do need to use salt, it is beneficial to the environment to at least reduce this amount.
All right, thank you.
All right, and that's all the time we have. So thank you very much. Okay, next we've got Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura, and I was just wondering have you ever had a dog? If yes, then you might know what it's like to bring your furry baby to daycare while you're just at work or busy. I happen to work at a doggy daycare and grooming facility called the Posh Dog. If a dog needs to be fed while it's in our care, the owners typically bring food for the dog. The issue is most dogs bring plastic bags when they come into daycare. The issue is that these bags just get thrown out, and if the dog's in daycare, it can eat up to 2 or 3 times. And we get usually around 60 to 80 dogs a day, which can be up to 240 plastic bags a day. Our daycare is open 365 days a year, no matter what. If we are constantly getting the same number of dogs, we can be getting up to 87,600 plastic bags a day, and that's just in one of our locations. We have 6 locations across Winnipeg. For now, we do have plans to expand. And if you're considering all of the locations, now that is 525,600 plastic bags a year. So that's a very big issue, as you can tell. Did you know that Lake Winnipeg is the 10th largest freshwater lake in the world? It's crazy how most of the people living inside this watershed don't even notice little things like littering and how much they can affect such a big part of the world. Plastic bags have been littered will eventually make it to Lake Winnipeg, which is almost like an ocean, it's so big. Plastics strongly affect marine wildlife, and they also can break up into microplastics, which are extremely oh my gosh, extremely hurtful to the marine wildlife. And it's also very hurtful to humans as well, that a lot of people don't even understand or notice. It can cause a lot of things like increased obesity, asthma, respiratory problems, reproductive issues in men, and many different types of cancers, also increased ADHD. Since plastic items take so long to decompose, the issue will not get better unless we stop using these materials. I work in a doggy daycare and groomery facility, like I mentioned, and you will not believe the amount of numbers that come into our facility every day. These plastic bags are used to hold pre-portioned dog food and fed to the dogs during their time in the building. Some of these dogs are staying with us for months, and if the owners are pre-portioning each of their bags, and they're getting fed up to 3 times a day, one dog can have 93 bags just for their one stay. Sometimes we get over 80 dogs a day, and I've seen 50 plastic bags just for one meal. Some owners do bring reusable containers, but it is a small minority, and I am hoping to increase that number with my idea. My idea is to encourage dog owners to bring their food in reusable containers and making a rewards punch card system at our facility so that they can get an incentive for being more environmentally friendly. The incentive is either a free nail trim or a discount on their dog's daycare. The business already has an online punch card system, so it would be super easy just to add that on. We wouldn't have to really have a fee or anything for that. The sustainable development goal that my idea helps is goal number 12, to ensure sustainable consumption of products and patterns, and to prevent reduction and recycling of those. With encouraging owners to bring reusable containers, that will be helping the reduction of plastic bags because they really don't break down or help anything. So my budget, the idea itself won't cost anything because the running system is already easy. We can already add it onto the count. I have verbally communicated this with the owner and she is in support. And as you can see here from the chart on the screen, we are just looking for some advertising, some posters. So the total cost will be $179.82. With all those posters, we can put them across every location. In conclusion, as you can see here, this is a huge problem. With plans to expand this local small business, the amount of bags will only increase. There is no effective way to recycle these bags, and the only way to solve the problem is to reduce, which is why my goal is extremely important. At this point, the small business is small enough to make a change. I hope I can eliminate the plastic bag use here. With your help, it is possible. Do you want to make a change? Thank you for listening to my presentation. As you can tell, I'm very nervous.
You're doing great, Laura. Don't worry. All right. So judges, if anyone has any questions, you can get started now.
I can go first if that's okay with everybody. Great job, Laura. I know you said you felt nervous. You did a great job. You actually answered one of my questions. So I was going to ask you about, the online punch card or something like that. So great job there. One of the things that come to mind for me is, have you looked into what other doggy daycares or groomers are doing for maybe providing segmented containers, or have you looked across what exists within the industry already?
Yeah, so I haven't looked into what other daycares are doing, but I have had the idea from one of the other judges' comments to maybe expand the budget more and to be able to provide reusable containers at a discounted price, which I can definitely look into that more.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll jump in here. Thank you so much, Laura. That's a wonderful wonderful presentation. And I am guilty because I do exactly what you described. I take bagfuls of dog food. So I'm part of the problem. Your boss, I'm interested in your boss's reason for jumping on board. Is there a benefit to these locations to reducing the amount of plastic use, or is this just a social responsibility for Posh?
Yeah, so since she is the owner of this small business and it's pretty much her baby, she's raised it from like nothing. She is definitely wasn't even aware that this was an issue. And like on my first day, I even noticed like, holy crap, there is so many plastic bags. So I kind of started trying to reuse them in different ways. But then like, of course, dog food, it just gets so nasty. Like you can't even reuse them. So I brought this to her attention and she was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. So she is definitely on board for that. And then even with the advertising, with the younger population coming in, it is definitely more appealing to have something that is more environmentally friendly. That is something that my generation definitely is looking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura.
You kind of mentioned the younger generation, and that was kind of my thought. I know dogs are everybody's babies, and the younger generation is really into kind of, I guess, spoiling. Maybe more so than what my parents were, their own dogs and things. So I guess you kind of answered already by saying you were kind of going to look into developing reusable containers, but I really think there's a great opportunity there for having them kind of having the ability to like label them or make them specific to their particular dog, whether it's, you know, just because that's the type of client,
like the dog's name, like
the name or the Pomeranian coach or something like that. Like, so I don't know. I was just throwing it out there, but I'm glad that you had kind of already started thinking that way. I think that would be very appealing. So just a comment.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, does anyone bring containers in? Are there some people who do?
At my location, I know there's like 2 owners that consistently bring like containers. And if we have like a day, like we're at max capacity at 80 dogs, like that's not very good. So
yeah, for sure. I was just curious because I've done a mix of both. So I'm kind of, I was just wondering who is and who isn't. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay, it looks like that's it. Thanks, Laura. Okay, everyone. So we have seen the first 5 of our 10 presentations. So we're halfway through already. And next we are going to see Nathan and Julian.
Picture this. You're in a classroom, and as you take your seat, the teacher passes out a sheet of paper. Then you're asked to download a new app on your smartphone. Once you open it, you see what looks like a camera interface, and as you hover over the page, you can see pine trees popping out of the page, and you can interact with these elements. This is the future of watershed education. Now, what is this magical technology, and why are we bringing it up? First, let's look at the problem.
So, our watershed, which spans almost 1 million square kilometers, faces several issues, including invasive species, microplastics, and, as you can see in the picture, eutrophication. Eutrophication in particular is having a devastating effect on our lake, causing the formation of harmful algal blooms. We all have a role to play in combating eutrophication, and education plays a key role in this.
Now, we'll take a look at some issues that exist with education. First, there's the issue of static visuals, where the visuals that are used in textbooks and other methods of education can be oversimplified or overcomplicated, which can hinder a proper understanding of concepts. In addition, there's a learning divide between experiential and textbook learning, as you can see here. After all, I surely don't remember page 65 of my grade 8 science textbook, but I remember critter dipping. So, we want to address this gap to make sure that learning gaps aren't created.
And as well as that, there's the COVID question. How do we provide experiential learning when we can't access the experience? And our solution to this is to use augmented reality, or AR for short. And this technology places virtual objects in the real world. And this can be done using smartphones, such as an iPhone, or your tablet. A good example of this is Pokemon Go, and I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with this.
So, how does AR solve the problems we discussed? First, it provides dynamic visuals instead of static ones, and it also provides experiential learning in class, overcoming the travel issue. It also allows experiential and textbook learning to be combined.
AR has also been shown to increase student engagement, performance, and motivation. And it's also able to address multiple learning styles. Now, enough talk. Who wants to see some action?
So here you can see a prototype that we created for our app that we hope to call Watt AR. As you can see, there are visuals popping right out of the page. You can interact with them, and they're moving. Here you can see how education and engagement can be combined in one package. And this is just a glimpse of what augmented reality in watershed education could look like.
So the progression of our project has been split up into 3 stages. The first one is planning, and this is where we develop the AR prototype, which will give us a good idea of what enhanced watershed education could look like. You actually saw our finished prototype there in that video. The second stage that we have is development, and that's the stage that we're currently in. This is where we plan to create a larger application based around the prototype by working with a freelancer, and we will align this app with the Lake Winnipeg Foundation's health plan. This app will also be targeted to middle schoolers, as water systems is a part of their graded curriculum.
Finally, we'll distribute the app to local middle schools, expanding as we collect feedback.
Here's a glimpse of our budget. Most of the funds will go towards developing the app, and whatever is remaining will be used for promotion. And we're looking to work closely with other organizations to help make this possible.
Finally, our project also connects to UN Sustainable Development Goal number 4 of quality education, addressing Target 4.1 about education leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes, and Target 4.7 about learners acquiring the skills they need to promote sustainable development. To sum up, hand in hand with the work of our excellent local educators, AR could be a promising tool for change. In the words of educator and author George Couros, technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers is transformational. We hope you're on board with this project and are willing to support us. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. So now we're going to open up to questions. So whoever has questions, you can just unmute and go ahead.
I always go first, so I'll hold off and let the other folks go first.
I can start then. I'm just wondering who you're hoping to work with to develop the content for your app, or are you just going to take content, say, from the grade 8 textbook? I'm just curious as to who will help you out with that.
Okay, I can take this question. So with that, we'd be willing to work with local organizations such as the Lake Winnipeg Foundation on specifics. And we also, as we said before, hope to align it with the health plan. So the 8 parts of the health plan, we want to align it with that because that's an already established framework. And in addition, we'll be working with a freelancer for the actual development, because a freelancer would have more experience with creating an actual app.
Thank you.
Right. Good job, guys. That's impressive. A couple of questions here for you. Do you have a designer already, or a developer, or you're still looking at that?
You can go ahead, Julian.
Okay. At the moment, we've sort of been developing the app on our own. We've started development as more of a standpoint so that when we cooperate with freelancers, they have like a starting point that they can continue to build the app from. So to answer your specific question, do we have a designer or developer at hand? Not really, but at the same time, we do have the experience to get it started. And a more auxiliary follow-up would be, we do have some freelancers in mind on who to contact to start this project.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if I can just add on to that, we have a list that we are considering contacting once we acquire sufficient funding. So that's where we got the cost on the budget for a freelancer based on around how much they're charging.
Okay, that answers my question. I've got another one, but I'll save it till the end so other people can go.
And what age are you targeting for, like, what is there a specific part of a curriculum that you're trying to target here?
Yeah. So yeah, you can take that, Julian.
Okay. Our project is aimed towards grade 8 students, as mentioned, because it's a part of their graded curriculum with water systems. And it's also an important time for them to learn about watershed education, because that tends to be the time when we remember our education the most.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so I have a question about your app. I've been designing or trying to design an app for our Riverwatch program, and I was almost discouraged from designing my own app because of a fear of when Apple upgrades, when Google upgrade, that all of a sudden my app is not going to be downloadable or useful anymore. How are you going to address that, the changing technology? And part 2 of that is, will there be the ability to upgrade the information in your present or in your AR as new information or updated information becomes available?
I can take this one.
Sure.
That is an excellent design question that I have been pondering when trying to framework this project. And you address a good point, because unfortunately most applications that are aimed towards education do depreciate over time because of Apple updates or things like that. If we want this to be a sustained application, then we would need a team to keep managing it. This would help keep it up to date with the latest operating system, and also keep it consistent with the information that we want to have in teaching about issues relating to our watershed.
So part 2 of this question then would be, would you be open to partnering with somebody that maybe has the financial resources to back this program for you, besides caring for our watershed?
Definitely, because we really want to see where we can take this project. So any source would be appreciated.
I have no money, by the way. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Not Shark Tank.
All right, I think we have time for Garrett's last question if you still have it.
Sure, yeah. I was just wondering, like, how you guys were going to measure success. Is it marks? Is it the amount of downloads, watershed improvements? Have you thought about that?
I can take this one. So one of the ways we had mentioned briefly, but while we do the initial rollout in local schools, we're going to be collecting feedback, and it'll mostly be qualitative. So how they enjoyed the experience, what did they find that was better about this experience compared to a traditional textbook approach. So it will be more qualitative, because the benefits that we mentioned relating to augmented reality are to help create a learning experience that's more engaging and addresses multiple learners and their learning styles.
Awesome. Well thought out.
Amanda, let me sneak one more in.
Okay, fine.
Would you please, and this is more of a plea than a question, please consider grade 10 science. There's ecology, there's chemistry, there's weather, and you can even tie in the physics unit when you're talking about water flow. So please consider grade 10 science as an option for your augmented reality as well.
Yeah, that's a good comment because like we said, we want this to be like a model for what could be applied to other forms of watershed education. So while our app may be targeted towards middle schoolers, additional apps could be made or there could be added improvements to make it cover multiple curriculums and levels.
Thank you for your suggestion. We are open to more assistance with this project.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Okay, our time is up. So thank you very much. All right. So that was Nathan and Julian. So next up, we've got Nicholas.
Greetings, judges, families, friends, fellow competitors, and other distinguished guests. My name is Nicholas Kiesman, and I'm a grade 12 student at West Kildonan Collegiate in Winnipeg. I want to start by congratulating all of my fellow competitors. We've all done some admirable work and should be very proud of making it where we have today. I'm going to begin by explaining a little about our watershed. Winnipeg is part of the Red River Basin watershed, which is part of the much larger Lake Winnipeg watershed. The Lake Winnipeg Foundation suggests that at over 1 million square kilometers in size, the Lake Winnipeg watershed is home to more than 7 million people across parts of 4 Canadian provinces and 4 US states, making it Canada's second largest watershed. With a watershed of this size, one's actions can easily create lasting impacts over great distances. This is why taking care of our watershed is so important and why taking care of our watersheds must be a community effort. Food waste is a problem that affects our entire continent. From having occasionally dined at buffet restaurants with my family, it has broken my heart to observe full trays of buffet food being dumped into the garbage at the end of buffet service. The Recycling Council of British Columbia says that when organic waste is wrapped in plastic garbage bags and buried in a landfill, it loses its ability to decompose properly due to a lack of sunlight and oxygen. This causes the waste to create large amounts of methane gas with a global warming potential 24 to 34 times greater than that of carbon dioxide. When I discovered this, I decided I had to do something to reduce the amount of organic food waste being sent haphazardly to our landfills. And thus, Composting for a Cause was born. My proposal is to redirect food waste away from landfills by partnering local restaurants with Compost Winnipeg, a nonprofit social enterprise in our city that works to promote environmental sustainability by composting organic and biodegradable food waste. TooGoodToGo.org suggests that for every kilogram of food waste sent to landfills, 2 kilograms worth of carbon dioxide emissions are created. By partnering restaurants with Compost Winnipeg, my proposal has the potential of redirecting hundreds of kilograms of organic waste away from landfills that has the potential of creating thousands of kilograms of CO2 and methane emissions. Since beginning project development in mid-February, I've been able to secure multiple partnerships and generate substantial interest in my proposal. To date, Compost Winnipeg has expressed interest in my desire to partner with their company and has agreed to help me in any way they can. I've also received a partnership commitment from Corey Gadet, the owner of 2 Rebel Pizza locations in Winnipeg, to partner with me in setting up compost collection service at both of his restaurants. I've received similar interest from other restaurants, including Joey's Seafood, Streets, and Wall Street Slice, among others, to potentially set up the same compost collection service with their restaurants. Thanks to the help of Compost Winnipeg, my partner restaurants and I will be able to monitor the amount of organic food waste collected by Compost Winnipeg through their detailed monthly waste diversion reports. This will allow me to actively monitor the success of my proposal through the amount of waste being diverted from each individual restaurant every month. The enthusiastic support of my multiple partners has shown me that there's a large need in our community for compost collection service. Manitoba does not yet have a provincial compost collection program in place, unlike most other Canadian provinces. My partners have commended my efforts, suggesting my project has the potential of getting Manitoba kick-started toward this. My proposal aims to impact the UN Sustainable Development Goals 12 and 13, responsible consumption/production, and climate action, respectively. I'm specifically aiming to impact targets 12.5, 12.6, and 12.8 by encouraging the more sustainable and renewable practice of composting. I'm impacting targets 13.2 and 13.3 by the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions that will be felt thanks to the increased composting efforts. To make my proposed solution a success, I will require funding for the Compost Winnipeg collection service. A breakdown is pictured on the graph in front of you. I would like to cover the compost collection service for a span of 4 months for each of my partner restaurants. The collection service is based on one bin service at $4 a month, at a bi-weekly pickup schedule charging $25 per pickup, totaling $54 per month. So far, Compost Winnipeg has agreed to provide 1 month of service free of charge, plus an additional 15% off any additional services. This is how the total donated was calculated. Although a timeline may be impacted by ongoing negotiations with my various partners, I would hope to have the compost collection service in place for my partner restaurants by mid to late May of 2021. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope I was able to inspire all of you as to why composting is so important and how we can work as a community to reduce the amount of food waste that we're sending to landfills. Now I ask you, caring for our watersheds, are you ready to stand with me and compost for a cause?
All right, thank you, Nicholas. I'm going to open it up to the judges for questions now.
Thank you.
Hi, Nicholas. I can start. I noticed that part of your proposal, you were suggesting that you would cover the cost of compost pickup for 4 months. Was there a specific reason why you chose 4 months, or does that just fit into kind of the projected costs that you're aiming for with this project?
Yeah. So the 4-month timeline, I was kind of going back and forth between 4 months or 6 months, and I kind of settled on 4 months to determine this project, this proposal is supposed to serve to restaurants as a jumping off point. I'm trying to use the resources that I have to get as many restaurants as I can with the funding I have on board. So I thought that 4 months was an appropriate time frame that would work for lots of restaurants to get on board and to hopefully get more than multiple partners on board.
So your hope is that they will continue with the service after your 4-month sponsorship?
Yes, absolutely. I've spoken to Carrie Blackburn as my contact at Compost Winnipeg, and she's told me that they have a 100% renewal rate of restaurants after their first month of composting. They have there's not one restaurant that they have gotten on board that has canceled their composting service. So that is obviously I'm hoping for that as well with my restaurant partners.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Hey, Nicholas, I'm just wondering about some of your budget numbers. Are you going to be the boots on the ground guy doing the legwork here, picking this compost up? Because your price seemed really reasonable, and I think your time's more valuable than that. So who's going to be doing the boots on the ground work for you?
Yes. So that service is actually going to be provided by Compost Winnipeg.
Okay.
They have all of the implementations put in place, all the measures to be able to handle large volumes of compost. They have multiple vehicles that they service their restaurants with, and they have teams of working crews who go around and collect compost from their restaurants. So that's going to be their responsibility. It's my job to partner them with more restaurants to do that with.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Hey, Nicholas. Great job. Couple quick questions here. So did I understand correctly that it's one bin for the months and then Compost Winnipeg will throw in one, or were there more bins per location?
Yeah. So for my proposal, like what I'm proposing to begin with is one bin service for all of the restaurants. It is supposed to remain like at least for the 4-month span of my involvement with the restaurants and Compost Winnipeg. It's supposed to be a one bin service based on 2 pickups a month. Now that of course could change based on each individual restaurant. sometimes restaurants find that one bin just isn't enough for how much they can compost. Compost Winnipeg is capable of accepting even cardboard boxes and other biodegradable packaging. So lots of restaurants find that one bin just isn't enough to sustain them at a bi-weekly or even weekly pickup schedule. So that's definitely something in the future that can be looked at increasing.
Okay, that was my follow-on question. So do you think that like them realizing they like it and want more bins, is that what success is with this project? Or what do you think at the end you can look back and say that was successful?
Yeah, well, from what I've heard from Compost Winnipeg, often restaurants that compost in their first month of joining the program, they often compost between 150 and 200 kilograms of food waste in their first month. And that often continues to grow across their partnership with Compost Winnipeg. This type of collection service, the one bin, hoping we can fill the bin every week or every collection period rather, is absolutely the goal. And I am striving to look at between 150 to 200 kilograms of composted waste every pickup, or every month rather.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Do you know where, where's the facility at which Compost Winnipeg does their? Do they have their own facility, or where do they do their composting?
For the actual composting, I'm not sure if they have an actual facility. I know that they are partnered with the Prairie Green landfill. And what happens with the compost is that the compost is used as a layering agent on the landfill. So from my understanding, the compost that's collected is composted in the ground. They have a designated area of land, probably on the property of the Prairie Green landfill, so that as soon as the composting is done, it's moved as a layering agent onto the landfill to cover other waste that's been discarded.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions, judges? Okay. Thank you very much, Nicholas. Okay, next up we have Victoria.
Hello, my name is Victoria Gordon, and my project is entitled Unmasking the Truth, Can PPE Be Recycled? Next slide. So before I get into my project, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Lake Winnipeg watershed first. The Lake Winnipeg watershed spans over almost 1 million square kilometers, covering parts of 4 Canadian provinces and 4 US states. It's home to around 7 million people, including people from 7 Canadian treaties who've lived there since before living memory. The Lake Winnipeg watershed carries water from multiple different rivers, with the Saskatchewan, Red, and Winnipeg rivers being the most important. And since it faces a lot of environmental issues today, it's important that we protect it. Next slide. So I'm sure you've seen images like this no matter where you live. Since the beginning of the pandemic, mask littering has become a huge issue. I'm very passionate about plastic waste, so this was something that's interested me for a long time and trying to find a way to stop it. I know that masks aren't recyclable, and in fact, in Winnipeg, they're encouraged to be thrown in the garbage because they pose a threat to recycling workers who are essential workers, and it also can get caught in the machinery. So looking for a way to somehow reuse those discarded masks would be the best way for me to make a change. And after some research, I found a company called TerraCycle that would help me do that. Next slide. So TerraCycle has these items called zero waste boxes, which are basically boxes that when you order them, you can collect things that normally wouldn't be recyclable. So the one that I chose was their safety equipment and protective gear zero waste box. So it collects various types of PPE like disposable masks, gloves, hair nets, beard nets, face shields, earplugs, etc. And so once you fill your box up with those kinds of things, you send it back to them after 72 hours, and then they quarantine the boxes at their facilities for another 72 hours to protect the workers. After that, they process the materials and they sort them into the different the different components, and they send them to third-party processors who then can make them into things like the flooring for playgrounds, watering cans, plastic storage containers and shipping containers, things like that. So next slide. For my proposal, I'm going to be ordering 5 of these safety equipment and protective gear zero waste boxes. I wanted to put them in high traffic areas of my school so that they would have the most impact. So I decided to put one in my school's commons because everyone goes there on a daily basis. And the other 4 will go into each of my school's science labs. That's a high traffic area too. People know where they are, and they're scattered throughout the school, so they're easily accessible. I also think they're a good opportunity to collect disposable gloves from science labs in there. So I think that would also be beneficial. I will advertise the boxes through posters that I will design and put up in my school. Next slide. So below is my budget table. It includes the cost of 5 of the safety equipment and protective gear zero waste boxes. And plus taxes. The cost of shipping is already included in the price of the boxes, so there's no need to worry about that. The total comes to $1,029. I will cover the costs of making the posters myself because they'll be minimal. I arranged a meeting to discuss potential funding of part of my project with my school principal, Mr. Kowalchuk, but unfortunately he was away on the day that we scheduled the meeting, so we have to postpone it. However, in an email, he has expressed interest in funding what he can. Next slide. So for implementation, on the right is my letter of approval from my school's vice principal, Mr. Cron. He's given me permission to put the boxes up and to have posters up in my school. I'm hoping to have the boxes up and running by the end of this school year. Once I receive the funding, I can place the orders for the boxes, and while I'm waiting for them to ship, I can hopefully get the posters finished so that I can have them up as soon as possible. Next slide. And for the sustainable development goals, I have the targets that my project addresses in the slide. And so I'll just go over the goals that it addresses briefly. My project helps both life below water and life on land, and also with clean water and sanitation because it reduces the amount of harmful chemicals being leached into our soil and groundwater when masks are being put in the landfill or even just littered. It also helps with responsible consumption and production because it encourages the reuse of single-use plastics that would normally just be thrown out. And it also prevents less new plastic from needing to be made for new products. Finally, it helps with good health and well-being because it improves the quality of our environment, and it also keeps citizens and Take Pride Winnipeg members safe when they're walking on the streets and when Take Pride Winnipeg members are picking up discarded masks. And next slide. Thank you so much. That's all I have for you today, and let me know what your questions are.
Great, thank you. So we're going to open it up to the judges now.
Okay.
I have a quick question. So the budget costs there that you had, does that include like the shipping to their facility, or like is it shipping? Do they pick it up? How does that work?
Yeah, they send a return label with it, and they include the cost of shipping in the initial price of the boxes.
Perfect, thank you.
Victoria, do you know the scope of the problem at West Kildonan right now? How many kilograms of PPE are currently popping up at your school?
I'm not sure how many kilograms, but I see a lot of people every day wearing masks, whether it's by their own choice because they are medical grade, or also just due to some, like especially faculty members being required to wear them because of their jobs. So yeah, I know that there's a lot there that we could be improving on.
Thank you.
Victoria, post-pandemic, hopefully we'll get there. Do you hope to continue with the use of the waste boxes in your school? Will you be keeping them in the science labs? Do you think you'll still need 5? Like what's kind of the future plan?
After the pandemic, I think that once masks like become less of an issue, there's other things that we can do because TerraCycle offers a lot of different zero waste boxes. Like for example, there's art supply ones, like there's a lot of different things that would be applicable for our school. So we could even get different types.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Victoria, do you have like a measure of what is successful? Like, is it just filling the 5 boxes, or do you want it to be a bigger project than that? What do you think?
I would love to fill all 5 of the boxes. They are relatively large in size. They're 10 by 10 by 18 inches each. So that would be a lot of masks and things and PPE to collect. So if I manage to fill all 5 of them up, that would be wonderful.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you see Victoria, do you see a cost saving to the school in terms of the recycling these products versus putting them in the garbage where it can become sustainable for your maintenance department?
Yeah, I think it would also just be beneficial to their health because it's not a biohazard if they're being recycled, because I will be taking care of the boxes and custodians won't have to worry about dealing with any of the waste. And yeah, I see people all the time wearing disposable masks, students and teachers. So it would definitely make a big change in how much of that is going into the garbage at my school.
All right, do we have any other questions, judges? No, all right. Well, thank you very much, Victoria. Okay, next up, we have Jonathan.
So I'm doing a mini eaves trough and pond and garden. So water pollution is a huge problem in today's day and age. Stormwater runoff is the #1 source of pollution in North America. And when rain and snowmelt pass over roads, parking lots, driveways, and other paved surfaces, it picks up oils, pesticides, solvents, chemicals, and sediment. So this water runs off into streams and rivers and eventually ends up in large bodies of water such as lakes and even oceans. It's a huge problem that we can all help solve by reducing the amount of stormwater runoff that ends up in our streams and rivers. So my solution to this problem is a mini wetland / retention pond that will be built on the new school's property, which will collect rainwater that comes from the school's eaves trough. My project will look similar to this image right here, and it'll be bigger as well as more attractive. And I also have a model to show you guys. Okay, so this is my model. So the water from the eaves trough will go into this, which is a filter to filter any sediments and stuff like that. So this is a blown up version of that. So it has coarse rocks and then finer rocks and then sand. That water will go into this pond that will have plants such as water hyacinths and water lettuce, which are floating plants, as well as water lilies, which as well as water lilies, broadleaf pondweeds, and cattails, which are all deep water plants. So when this fills up, it will go through the overflow right here into the garden, and that will water the garden with all these plants. And that is it. And then we'll go back to this. So the importance of water retention ponds. So water retention ponds are very important to our watershed because they reduce the pollution by decreasing the amount of stormwater runoff reaching our streams and rivers. On average, a rainfall over a 24-hour period can produce more than 700 gallons of water that runs off of a single house. Of this rainfall, about 35% of it collects pollutants as it runs off into storm drains, streams, and rivers. So how a mini retention pond will impact my community? It will increase the amount of storm water that infiltrates on site, where it is filtered naturally by the earth and is prevented from entering storm drains and surface waters as polluted runoff. It will also reduce the strain on groundwater reservoirs, which are often overgrown. And it will protect waterways and reduce bank erosion. So when stormwater runs heavy, it causes stream banks to erode, which causes further damage to our sensitive waterways and wildlife habitats. And 4, it will decrease the amount of pollution. So according to the EPA, stormwater runoff is the #1 source of pollution in North America. And when you slow it, sink it, spread it, and store it on your site, you reduce your strain on our watershed. So the details of the project. So our school is planning to move locations by the end of next year, where my idea will be put into action. And if I were given the funding, I would implement my idea as soon as possible. My project would take approximately 2 days to complete with a small group of people. And I have friends who are willing to help, as well as my parents who are experienced in landscaping. So the pond will be 3 feet wide by 3 feet long and 1.5 feet deep. The garden will be 4 feet wide and 4 feet long. And these are the materials for my project and the costs. So the cost of the project will be a total of $160.40. And I have been corresponding with my principal, and she has given me consent for the idea to be put into action. So we all need to do our part in protecting our watersheds. Water pollution is a serious issue, and we all need to do what we can to protect it. So our watersheds condition is very important to everyone and everything that uses water. Watersheds provide critical services, all which support our economies, environment, and quality of life. I hope my project will encourage others to implement something similar to do their own part in protecting their watershed. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
All right, thanks. So we're going to turn it over to the judges so you can unmute and ask your questions whenever you're ready.
I can go first. Thanks, John. That was awesome presentation. I really liked how you actually modeled it. I was wondering, so the filter system, is it going to be able to handle like the thunderstorms we get in the summertime, those really big inflows? What do you think?
I think that it would handle it well, and it would be a good size so that it would be able to in those big storms. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess my other question kind of from there is, at 3 by 3, do you think that's big enough? Like how big is the roof area that you're planning to capture from that one eaves trough?
It wouldn't be the whole roof, but it would be I'm not sure, but if it is not big enough, there's going to be overflow hole, so that overflow would go into the garden, and that would go into the ground and be filtered by the earth.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Do you know what kinds of, you might have mentioned it, I don't know, but do you know what types of plants you're planning to have in the garden? Are they plants that are going to use up a lot of water? Because it sounds like there might be a lot of water available.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe some ferns and some lilies and all that. So, yeah.
Jonathan, you mentioned that you've spoke with your principal. Do you think there's any other players in this that you'll need to talk to before you get final permission to implement this project, or the principal's the final authority?
The principal is one of the top people, but I think the church would also be someone that I have to correspond with. yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Awesome. And this will be a permanent structure, correct? It's not a temporary thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. I noticed that in your budget, you didn't include the cost of any of the plantings or.
Oh, yeah.
So are you hoping to get donations, or do you think that's something you might have to work into it?
Yeah, so the materials that would be free would be supplied by my parents because they have a landscaping business, and they also have lots of excess materials on hand.
Okay.
And yeah, some of the plants would be donated because, yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Jonathan, do you think this is an idea that could move beyond your school to other schools in your school division or in the province pretty easily?
Definitely. So, like, I hope that will encourage others in my own school to do things, and that might also expand to other schools as well.
Good, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the judges?
If we've got time for one more, I'll ask it.
Absolutely.
Did you think about having to maybe replace your initial captures? So if it's grabbing the runoff pollution from the roof, do you think you'll have to change the soil at some point or do some other work, maintenance on it?
Yeah, the filter would probably have to be changed once it gets to filled with like the sediment coming from the roof. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
Is that all?
Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay. We have our last presentation up next. Is everyone getting excited? Okay, here we go. Last presentation from Logan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Logan, and this is my project, Leaving a Mark. Leaving a Mark is the implementation of the Crayola Color Cycle program division-wide. The Color Cycle program is an environmentally friendly, easily sustainable answer to the problem that is marker pollution. The Crayola company organizes a system in which used markers, highlighters, Sharpies, and more are sent into the Crayola factory to be recycled in their entirety. Regardless of branding, they're accepted and recycled. Why worry about marker pollution? Our watershed is so expansive that it affects more than just its immediate surroundings. As of 2013, Lake Winnipeg was named Threatened Lake of the Year. Throughout the past years, the water crisis has fallen under the radar. As such, it's been gaining little improvement. This is why it's more important than ever to make change and help to improve the environment in any ways we can. Time is running out. The Lake Winnipeg watershed has an impressive number of channels flowing into and out of it. Pollution of our waters will most certainly lead to the pollution of numerous other areas. We need to help. We can't allow our habitat to fade away and die. When chemicals contained in markers are left to soak in rivers, lakes, streams, and soils, it puts all animal and plant life in that area at risk. If left unchecked, markers could cause more large-scale environmental damage to our watershed, along with those surrounding. Markers, highlighters, felt tips, and more are all part of the problem. And with this idea, I hope to fix that. Markers, such as the ones that are recycled with this program, pose a serious issue to watersheds, along with the creatures in and around them. There are many poisonous chemicals included in the average marker. Some of the chemicals found in the traditional marker include xylene, benzene, and toluene. Extended exposure to dry erase marker fumes can lead to a myriad of adverse health effects. The fumes can be linked to neurological liver, kidney, and respiratory issues in humans. Inks traditionally used in markers are highly toxic. The ink cartridge can take from 450 years to upwards of 1,000 years to fully decompose in landfills. During this time, they leak toxic chemicals into the water, chemicals such as xylene, which is made using fossil fuels. These are toxic to aquatic species and the plants. Oh, geez, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling here. Xylene is also considered a volatile organic compound, or VOC. VOCs have low water solubility. Due to this, they remain in our water bodies for longer periods of time. Because of this, they're very persistent and are even able to sneak their ways into areas such as supply wells, which are used to gather clean water. Contamination of supply wells will often result in large-scale issues in the community using them. Along with this, the plastic casing of markers can take upwards of 450 years to fully decompose, all while polluting waterways with microplastics gathered in water runoff. When markers are incinerated, they release toxic gases into the atmosphere and create an excess of VOCs. The VOCs produced then contribute to large amounts of ground level ozone. Ground level ozone is exceptionally harmful. It can have unprecedented negative impacts on things such as cloud formation, evaporation rates, global warming, and precipitation levels. Ground level ozone is also one of the main factors that contributes to the air pollution issue. Markers pose a huge threat to our watersheds lands. This is due to the fact that they aren't easily recyclable. As a result, millions group up in landfills and leach toxins into their surrounding environments. This includes lakes, fields, rivers, and soil, all part of our own watershed. On top of the previous issues stated, markers have also been found inside the bodies of various animals. An example of which is the albatross, who, along with many other wild animals, digest markers, microplastics they produce, and the ink they contain. As you might imagine, this is a very toxic, very fatal snack. Plastic, the material that is used for the casing of markers, is part of an extremely pollutant industry. It also consumes one of our planet's most valuable, least renewable resources, which is oil. The oil industry contributes heavily to the intensification of greenhouse gases, acid rain, poor water quality, and groundwater contamination. The oil industry also contributes to biodiversity loss, as well as the destruction of nearby ecosystems. My solution to the issue of marker pollution is the implementation of the Crayola color cycle. The color cycle is a program that is environmentally friendly and easily sustainable. By collecting various markers throughout the division, major changes are made. The collection prevents these large amounts of markers making their way into landfills, waterways, and wooded areas. By implementing this, we would reduce marker waste across our watershed. Through the use of this program, recycling of markers would become commonplace in our schools. It would stop the vast majority of waste right as it begins. The Crayola Color Cycle program is an amazing utility due to the fact that markers cannot be recycled easily, and markers which are shipped off are reused in their entirety by Crayola. The Crayola company has organized this incredible system. Now it's our job to use it. Before the implementation of this project, informational pamphlets will be sent to each school. Enough will be sent off to supply each paid teacher in the Interlake. The pamphlets are already made and would only need to be printed off. The pamphlets would inform teachers and other faculty of the coming changes. After around 6 months into the program, an email would be sent out to each school in the division. The email would contain an online survey. The survey is already created and it contains questions about things such as how frequently are markers being collected in your classroom? Are students actively recycling markers? And from 1 to 10, rate your experiences with the program. Along with this, there's a section at the end for any feedback they might have regarding the program and suggestions they might make. Upon receiving feedback, I will take time to look through responses. Along with this, a list of improvements suggested would be compiled. Suggestions which are good improvements would be made. However, schools are able to make individual changes to their collection and shipping methods. This means that only large-scale changes would be dealt with. In the slides following, I will detail various aspects related to collection, shipping, budget, and time span of this program. As discussed in previous slides, 2 main aspects require funding: the printing of pamphlets and the purchasing of markers. Pamphlets printed in black and white significantly decrease the overall price of the program. By printing each pamphlet for each of the 265 teachers in the school division in black and white, the total cost of pamphlets comes to $34.45, with each pamphlet costing 13 cents. A marker is to be supplied with each pamphlet. This will hopefully increase the interest in the program among teachers because, hey, who doesn't like free stuff? To buy 300 markers in bulk, the price varies, with prices ranging at around $250. I was able to find costs as low as $250.79. Shipping containers will not be supplied. This is due to many schools having excess of unused cardboard boxes, which work excellently as shipping containers. Shipping prices can also be cut. The Crayola companies supply shipping labels, which can be printed from their website. Therefore, the total cost of implementation throughout the division comes to $285.24. Due to the low-cost nature of this program, it can be easily replicated in areas eligible for shipping.
Okay, Logan, you've gone over 7 minutes, so that's your time for your presentation. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to wrap up here, and then the judges are going to ask your questions, okay?
All right, I'm going to skip to my summary slide then.
Okay, sounds good.
To summarize the points I've made previously, the implementation of this program would vastly cut down on pollution on our airways, waterways, and lands. It also helps to prevent the further problem that is global warming. With programs' cheap cost and simple premise, it remains easily replicable across other areas. By implementing this program, we're able to work towards the nation's sustainability goals, such as goals 15, 14, 13, and 6, which are clean water and sanitation, sustainable life on land and underwater, and taking action to stop global warming. Thank you for your time. I'll get questions now.
All right, thanks, Logan. Okay, we can start the judging timer now.
Thanks, Logan. Go ahead,
yeah.
Debbie. Go ahead.
Actually, I had written down a question and you actually kind of answered it towards the end there. Like who would collect them, how you would ship it back, and etc. But I'm just wondering if you ever looked into the possible impact of shipping or the environmental impacts of shipping stuff like that back to Crayola. And I was just wondering if there was any local type initiatives that perhaps, I know you're in the Interlake, there's probably shipping regardless, but I was just wondering if that was ever a consideration.
Shipping was definitely a consideration. I was looking into it a little bit, and I don't think there are any local, like super local programs that do the same thing. It's one-way shipping because the boxes don't really need to be returned. So it wasn't a large concern for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Logan. Was the idea to implement first in your school and then the division-wide, or was it just to go straight division-wide? I might have misunderstood, but anyway, just curious.
It was to go straight to like division-wide. I didn't get to this in my presentation, but I was able to get permission from the division to implement this. They only need like some additional information before they go ahead with it, which I'll be supplying. Yeah.
Hey, good job rolling with the technology punches there. That's you did a good job. My question was, do you know how big the scope of your program is? Is it like one box per month per class, or did you kind of look at how much is generated now that you'll be sending back?
I didn't get specific numbers for the schools, but for instance, in the United States, over 400 million just whiteboard markers are put into landfills each year. So with the implementation of this, I assume it's a similar number, albeit a little less due to our lower population. But still, I think it would make a decent impact
Alyssa and Noah, could you please return to your class?
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
That's the hazard of going last, because Garrett just asked exactly what I was going to ask. So Logan, I'm going to change gears on you. Some of these chemicals you were talking about, toluene, xylene, do they bioaccumulate in the environment, that as you move up the food chain, we're going to see it in higher concentrations?
Well, yes. Like, for instance, when I was mentioning microplastics, that would be one example of that. But for instance, xylene is usually a byproduct of burning markers or the ink contained inside. And because they are not water soluble, they would accumulate the higher in the food chain you go.
Awesome. And just so I understand, there's no charge from Crayola for this recycling part?
Yes, they have shipping labels that are able to be printed off and used.
Cool.
Unfortunately, as of now, the program isn't running due to COVID because Crayola has to ensure like the safety of their workers, but hopefully when that slows down.
So Logan, where did you get the idea that we need to work on markers? Like markers honestly had never crossed my mind until today.
Well, funny story, actually. We had the assignment to do the project and I was thinking like, oh, how many times do you finish off writing with a pen or something? And then I kind of was going off that and I was thinking, this doesn't seem like a big enough thing. There isn't anything substantial for me to do here. And then, funny enough, Miss Dion, she ran out of ink and a black marker on the whiteboard and she had to just chuck it. So I figured markers are similar to pens. And she brought up the Crayola color cycle and just kind of went from there.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks, Logan.
Yeah, no problem.
Do we have any other questions? All right. Well, that time is up. And thank you very much, Logan. Okay, so we've now seen all of the top 10 finalists' proposals. So with that, we're very close to finding out who our winner is this year. But I just have a couple quick things we need to do before I make the announcement. So first of all, let's hear from our sponsor, Nutrien.
Good evening, and thank you all for attending the Caring for Our Watersheds final competition. My name is Garrett Watson. I'm the Precision Ag Field Adoption Manager for Nutrien Ag Solutions in North America. Nutrien is the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services, reaching every major growing region of the world. In addition to the important role that we play in supporting growers to sustainably feed the growing population, Nutrien strives to meaningfully contribute to communities globally and locally where we operate. I would like to thank all the participants in this competition. You all deserve to be commended on the amount of hard work and long hours you put into your impressive projects. I had the pleasure of judging the projects, and unfortunately we could only pick one winner, but each of you should be really, really proud of what you've accomplished. Nutrien recognizes the importance of the environment to all of us, and we're very honored to be sponsoring this competition. There are 9 contests held internationally each year all across North America and Argentina. Nutrien works continually to minimize our environmental footprint and towards our 2030 sustainability goals. And that means that we invest in environmental programs and innovations such as the ones presented today. In fact, Nutrien has agreed to donate $10,000 to implement the ideas that were presented today. We want to see your ideas moving forward. Manitoba's been a leader in implementing the finalists' ideas, and I hope that this group takes advantage of every dollar available today. Together, we must constantly look for ways to improve and innovate and increase our positive impact on the environment. There are no easy solutions to the challenges that lay ahead of us, but with the knowledge gathered and the drive of everyone here today, we can make a big difference in our effort to take care of our watersheds. Sharing practical and creative environmental solutions are so important, and I want to thank every student here for your effort and passion. Now is the time to make these ideas happen. It's up to us to make a difference in our watersheds. Please join me in congratulating all of the Caring for Our Watersheds finalists.
All right, and then we have one more address that I would like to show you before we make the announcement. So I reached out to the Honorable Sarah Guillemard, who is the Minister of Conservation and Climate here in Manitoba. And she was so excited about all of your projects and everything that you're doing that she actually sent a little video for us to show. So let's roll that as well.
Good evening. It is unfortunate that we are not able to meet in person today at the beautiful Harry J. Enns Wetland Discovery Centre at Oakhammock Marsh, but I am very glad to be able to connect with everyone virtually. I'd like to recognize the extra efforts of Amanda and the team at Oakhammock Marsh, as well as the teachers and judges for making this event happen. And a big thank you to Nutrien for their ongoing sponsorship of the Caring for Our Watersheds contest. I would particularly like to recognize the effort of all of the students that participated in this contest and the teachers that have supported them, as well as recognizing those of you who managed to reach the top 10. From Westwood Collegiate, Nathan Varghese, Julian Joquin, Laura McKay, Jasper Bain, Megan Morant, Angela Gamarello. From Warren Collegiate Institute, Kylie Peterson, Logan Monforton. From West Kildonan Collegiate, Victoria Gordon Pagard, Nicholas Kiesman. From the King's School, Jonathan Salo. From Valley Gardens Middle School, Jade Bugia. From Seven Oaks Met School, Chaz Ducharme. You have faced unprecedented challenges in your education this past year. To put the extra effort to enter a contest like this during these difficult times is truly commendable and speaks to your dedication to both your education and to the health of Manitoba's watersheds. You have developed creative and innovative solutions to answer the question, what can you do to improve your watershed? This is a question that the provincial government takes very seriously. Manitoba is fortunate to have an abundant supply of water. Approximately 16% of the province is covered by fresh water. The management of this water is a big responsibility. Manitoba has recognized that managing water based on watersheds is the most effective way to plan, coordinate, and manage activities that influence water, and watershed management is one of the keystones of the Manitoba Climate and Green Plan. You have developed ingenious but also practical and implementable solutions to improve the health of our watershed. And thanks to Nutrien, funding is available to implement these projects to make a real difference in your watershed and beyond. Participating in these events provides the opportunity for me to see firsthand the innovation and creativity of Manitoba's young people. Knowing that you are Manitoba's future watershed managers makes me very hopeful for a bright future ahead for you and for our province. Congratulations again on this achievement.
Okay, it's time. Can I get my finalists to turn their cameras on, please? All right. Let's see. Do we have everybody's? Oh, we're just pinning everybody so we can see you all. Just give us a second here. Okay. All right. Oh, there's Logan. Okay. So everybody's cameras are on. Everybody's ready? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Are we excited? Are we nervous? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to start from 10th. So in 10th place this year, winning a prize of $300. We've got Jade, Picture a Cleaner Watershed. Good job, Jade. Woohoo. Okay. It's kind of weird when I'm not in person. I don't hear clapping. Like, I know that you're excited, but it's just weird. All right. Okay. And then in 9th place with a prize of $350, Jonathan with the mini Eaves Trough Pond and Garden. Good job. Oh, thank you. Seeing you clapping is making me feel better. Okay. So in 8th place with a prize of $400, Logan with Leaving a Mark. Woo! And I know those of you who are tuning in live are obviously clapping too, right? Very good. Okay. In 7th place with a prize of $450, we've got Kylie, Nurturing Nature in a Toxic World. Woohoo! Oh, this is so fun. I just wish that you were all here, but this is so cool that we still get to do this. All right, in 6th place with a prize of $500, we've got Chaz with Building Custom Keyboards. Way to go. Awesome. All right, we're in the top 5. Are you ready? Here we go. In 5th place, winning a prize of $600, is Laura with Reduce Plastic at Posh. Awesome. Okay. 4th place with a prize of $700, Victoria with Unmasking the Truth. Okay. Top 3. Here we go. In 3rd place with a prize of $800, Nicholas, Composting for a Cause. All right, everyone. Last 2. So in 2nd place, winning a prize of $900, we've got Jasper, Megan, and Angela saying goodbye to Sorry De-icers, which means our first place winners of $1,000 is Nathan and Julian with Watt AR, Enhancing Education Using Augmented Reality. Everyone, big, big, big congratulations. You are all winners. The top 10 this year was just phenomenal. All of you. You saw those presentations. You just blew me away. You blew the judges away. It was an amazing year. Now we've done this part, and the next step is turning your ideas into reality, and I can't wait to help you all do that. So we're going to be implementing hopefully all of these projects as well as other projects across the province with that funding from Nutrien. I'm so excited to get started and to help you out. And again, congratulations. You all should be very proud of everything that you've done up to this point. That was great. It was amazing. I'm proud of you. You should be proud of you. I can't wait to see these projects come to life. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I can't wait to get these projects going. So thank you and good night.